Hello students and welcome to Legacy IAS. Today we'll be looking at the reports and indices for UPSC Prelims 2024. Now these reports and indices are very important because at times in prelims 1, 2 or even more than 2 questions in the same particular year is asked with respect to the reports and indices. Alright, so we will look at many such reports and indices which are important for your prelims examination and you can expect a question or two from them. So let's get started. The very first report we are talking here about is Climate Change Performance Index. Now whenever we talk about the reports and indices, please understand the most important thing is to know which report or index is brought out by which organization. That is one thing. What it is all about, that is the other thing. At least the broad concept, what this index or report tells you, what it measures or criteria, that's it. And two more things is which are the topmost countries and where does India lie. So if I have to tell you the important things, you need to know the report or index. It is brought out by whom? Okay, what it is about, all right, or what it measures needs to be clear. Then you need to know India's rank and top 3 countries. Okay. So report and it is brought out by whom? This is one thing together only. This is one thing, this is second, this is third and this is fourth. These are the things you need to remember for your prelims examination. I hope that is absolutely clear. So the first report is Climate Change Performance Index released by German Watch. Climate Change Performance Index released by German Watch. So what does it do? It assesses the climate performance of country. With respect to climate change, how a country is performing is what it assesses. It is based on four categories. What are these 4 categories? Number 1 is GHG emissions, that is your greenhouse gas emissions, renewable energy. So greenhouse gas emissions as in how less they are emitting. If the lesser it is, the better the country is performing. Renewable energy, utilization of renewable energy. The more renewable energy they use, the better they will be in the index. Energy use. Energy use is basically related to the efficiency at which they are using. Per capita use of energy, for example. It needs to be as low as possible. The lower the better. And then finally, climate policy. What is their policy with respect to the climate? Are they incorporating climate change in their economic, socio-economic policy, etc., etc.? So what are the 4 parameters? GHG emissions need to be lower, renewable energy need to be higher, energy use need to be lower, and they need to have climate policy also. Okay. So this instrument, what it is helping, it is creating transparency among the in the entire world with respect to how the countries are performing in this particular index. Now what is German Watch? German Watch is a non-profit, non-governmental organization. Okay. So when an NGO generally what they try to do, anyhow NGO try to influence public policy in different domain. This is an NGO in the domain of climate change, so it will try to influence the policy in climate change. If there is an NGO with respect to hunger, with respect to gender inequality, they would try to influence the public policy in that regard. Now, where does India lie? India is actually doing pretty good. Remember, in climate related things, India is actually doing quite good with respect to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. All those things India are doing quite good. India is doing quite good. Even when you compare to other countries, even the developed countries also, India is doing a lot better, because a lot of developed countries, once USA just walked away from the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change under the Trump reign. Okay, but India is doing as much as it can for the climate change. So India is ranking 7th over here, which is, being a developing country, I believe is a very good rank out of 63 countries. Which are the topmost countries? Denmark, Sweden and Chile are top 3. Next is International IP Index. IP here means intellectual property, released by US Chambers of Commerce. Now in intellectual property, remember US is the top. So I'll directly tell you this, US is the top. Other countries being UK and France second and third. India is not that good when it comes to IP. As per the ranking, India is ranking 42 out of 55 countries and its rank has been unchanged since 2022. So what does International IP Index do? It provides a blueprint for economies aiming to enhance the IP environment. It tells you where you are and it gives you a clear picture so that you can work to improve on that. So it talks about aiming to enhance the environment for innovation and creativity by implementing more robust intellectual property standards. Now the issue with this index is, this index simply what it does is how many patents were filed, how many patents were approved. So as many patents are being filed, that better ranking you will have. Now the problem with this is, in US you keep on filing patents left, right, center. I'll just give you a one very basic example. In US, one of the companies filed for the antiseptic effect of turmeric. Few years back, a company from USA filed for a patent for antiseptic effect of turmeric. Now this is laughable for us. Why? Because for thousands of years, we are the Indians, the Indian subcontinent, our scriptures, all that mention, and we were using turmeric since ages, since time immemorial. And these people now, after thousands of years, are going to get the patent of antiseptic effect of turmeric. So then of course India challenged it and this was not given. But my point here is, USA left, right, center keeps putting in patents. So many of it is in the medical sector, in which we would have already had all those things written in our scriptures and following that since thousands of years. So that is a bit of an issue with respect to this ranking. However, we need to remember it is brought out by US Chambers of Commerce and USA is the topmost over here. Coming next is the Global Soft Power Index. Global soft power. Even if you don't know, who would you think has the highest global soft power? Of course, that would be USA. And the colonial legacy still keeps going on, and UK would be second. And China, with so much of wealth, is projecting their soft power as well, which will be at third. So if you look at the ranking, US, UK and China are top 3. India ranks 29th out of 193, which is still a good ranking, but India should still do better and we will definitely do better in this regard. Okay, so this index, what it does, assessment of national brand perception. First of all, Global Soft Power Index is brought out by Brand Finance. The Brand Finance. What is Brand Finance? World's leading independent brand valuation and strategy consultant. They are a consultancy. They consult you with respect to the brand and brand valuation and strategy. This index is based on an assessment of a nation's brand perception, a particular national brand perception. Okay, in-depth analysis of the changing state of soft power as countries navigate important global development and challenges. So this is an additional statement anyhow. You need to just know that it does the assessment of national brand perceptions. Perception. Generally, whenever it is about perceptions, guys, these kind of indices would be driven by interviews or surveys. What do people think? So they will be asking you questions. When you answer based on that, these indices and reports are brought out generally when it is about the perception. Okay. Now coming on to Human Development Index HDI, brought out by United Nations Development Program. It assesses countries' average performance in 3 domains. What are these 3 domains? Health, knowledge and standard of life. Health, knowledge and standard of life. India ranks very low at 134 out of 193 United Nations members. Switzerland, Norway and Hong Kong are top 3. Now how is health measured? By the average lifespan. It is measured by the average lifespan. Knowledge is measured by mean year of schooling, and expected year of schooling. And standard of living is measured by per capita income. Now, gender inequality index, again released by United Nations Development Programs. It will measure the gender disparity across 3 dimensions. To measure the gender disparity, they take into account health, empowerment and the labor market. Health, empowerment and the labor market is what is taken into account. India ranks again quite low, out of 108 out of 193. You can remember that India ranks worse in HDI than in gender inequality index. In gender inequality index, we are slightly better than how we are in HDI. These kind of relations, linkages will help you to eliminate options if specific rank is asked. Iceland, Norway and Finland are the top 3 countries. Now, 5 billion people unprotected from trans fat leading to heart diseases. So this is a report. The World Health Organization, that is WHO, has released the report titled Countdown to 2023, WHO report Global Trans Fat Elimination. WHO's report on global trans fat elimination brought out by WHO. So what is it talking about? It is saying that 5 billion people are unprotected from trans fat, which is leading to heart diseases. Okay, which is leading to heart diseases. Now what are trans fat? Trans fat or trans fatty acids are unsaturated types of fats. Now these unsaturated types of fats are also available in trace amounts, very small amount in natural food, but in artificial food they are available in a huge quantity and they have adverse effect on our body. These fats are largely produced artificially. Small amount occurs naturally as well. Okay. Now this trans fatty acid contains oil which can be preserved for which can preserve things for longer duration. Why is it so famous? Because it can preserve a food for longer duration. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is that they can give the required shape and texture to the food in which they are mixed with. Alright. So TFA, it contains oil that can be preserve the food for a longer duration and give the food the desired shape and texture, which would of course make it more tempting. Then the next report talks about India's richest 1% own more than 40% of the wealth. This report is brought out by Oxfam. Oxfam has released the report titled Survival of the Richest, the Indian Story. So they generally come up with different country specific reports. This is India specific report which is Survival of the Richest, the Indian Story. What is the finding? That top 1% of India are owning more than 40% of the wealth. Not just that, the bottom half as in the bottom 50% of the population owns just 3% of the wealth. Okay, so that is the statistics that they have given. Further, it also says that female workers earn only 63 paisa for every rupee earned by the male. Okay, so there is a difference in the pay of up to 37%. Also, the situation worsens. Now, gender disparity is there, but even worse than gender disparity is what? The caste disparity. The scheduled caste and the rural workers. Rural urban divide. The scheduled caste would earn around 55% only and rural workers would earn only half of what the advantaged social groups earn respectively. Okay, so females, what is the amount? Females would be 63%, SCs would be 55%, and rural workers would be 50%. This is the further disparity which is seen. Okay, what are the suggestions? Suggestion is to implement inheritance tax. Now, inheritance tax was recently also in news, very important. Also in news because one of the leader of the political party said that there needs to be inheritance tax, right? So inheritance tax, that video is also available on Legacy IAS YouTube channel. Please watch what inheritance tax is. This report is also giving a suggestion of implementing inheritance tax, property, land as well as wealth tax. So that these taxations are there and the money from these taxes can be utilized to come up with better socio-economic programs. Next up is World Happiness Report 2024. The concept of happiness index started from Bhutan. Remember that. Happiness concept, the concept of measuring happiness started from the country of Bhutan. Very important to remember. This World Happiness Report, however, is released by United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, UNSDSN. Remember this name? Okay, it is a global survey. Again, it's a survey. So what happens is you are asked how happy you are. You are not measuring it with respect to any factual or objective data, but you are asking the people. So the problem with this report can be, you may not be happy, but you are just having a perception of being happy can be the issue. But still, whatever measure we have so far, this gives us the happiness index. India here ranks 126th out of 146 countries, which is of course a very low rank. We have to probably do better. Finland, Denmark and Iceland are the top 3 countries. You will see generally in such indices, it is the Nordic countries, you know, Denmark, Finland, Switzerland, Iceland, these kind of countries who always top it. Then comes Global Terrorism Index 2023 released by Institute for Economics and Peace, IEP. It ranks 163 countries on the impact of terrorism. What do we mean? Please understand this index properly. It ranks the countries with respect to the impact terrorism is having on them. So higher the impact the terrorism has on the particular country, the country's rank would be higher. So the country which is having the highest impact of terrorism would be at top. So in this ranking, it is better to be as low as possible, meaning the country which is 163rd would be the safest country of them all. Remember this, because in this index probably they may ask you the logic instead of which organization brings it out. Okay, so here if you look at it, India ranks 13th. So should we be looking to go above the rank or below the rank? Below. We need to be looking to go to 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, so on and so forth. The lower we are in this index, the better it is. It shows the less impact terrorism has on us. Okay, but it's not as simple as possible. It is not that simple, especially with the neighbors that India is surrounded by, all kinds of infiltration, etc., etc. But yes, we are trying as hard as possible to do better and better and not let terrorism impact us. The one thing, you know, I think it was also there in a movie which said is, as far as terrorism activity is concerned, these extra state players or even state supported players who are doing terrorism, they need to succeed just once. But our armed personnel, to keep them at bay, need to succeed every single time. So it's a very big challenge, and as citizens of this country, we should also help the armed personnel by doing a very simple thing. So whenever there are certain additional checkings at airports or other places, we may get frustrated, but that's not the place to get frustrated, rather to facilitate these kind of checking, because at the end of the day, it is there to keep us safe. Having said that, let's move ahead. Which are the topmost countries here? Burkina Faso, Israel and Mali. That means these are the top 3 countries affected by global terrorism. So this is rank 1, this is first, this is second, and this is third. So in this ranking, please remember, the lower the ranking, the better it is. The next one is Global Innovation Index 2023, released by World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, Global Innovation Index 2023. Now, it actually measures what? innovation driven social and economic transformation. Okay, it measures innovation driven socio-economic transformation in the countries. India is ranked 40th out of 132 countries. Switzerland, Sweden and US are the top 3. US is again over here present, and US was I think top in what? Intellectual property index. Now this again, global hunger index, we are not doing quite well over here. Global hunger index brought out by Concern Worldwide and Wealth Hunger Life. Okay, it is a tool for evaluating, of course, how well a country is dealing with hunger. India is ranked 111th out of 125 countries, so we are ranked very lowly. Here, remember these countries specifically, because here you don't have the Nordic countries and all those, but Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Chile are the top 3 countries. That means they have low levels of hunger. Okay. Global Competitiveness Index released by International Institute for Management Development, IMD. It ranks country based on how they manage their competencies to generate long-term value creation. Competitiveness, how this country is competitive in the market, how are they competing with other economies, that competitiveness is measured over here. India ranks 40th out of 64 countries. So again, sort of a low rank, but fine, these 64 countries, if there are more countries, a lot of least developing countries and also would be there. With lesser countries, those countries would go away. So it is the challenge between top of the top countries, top of the top 64 countries. So that is why to maintain your rank better becomes difficult. We are presently at 40th rank. The top 3 countries are Denmark, Ireland and Switzerland. Remember, it's Ireland, not Iceland. In other indices, you may find Iceland and all over there, happiness and this and that. But here it is Ireland. Okay, Global Competitiveness Index. Now, Global Peace Index released by Institute for Economics and Peace, IEP. So what does it do? It measures the peace across 3 domains: societal safety and security, ongoing domestic and international conflict, and militarization. Militarization, ongoing internal and external conflict, and societal safety and security. India is ranked 126th out of 163 total countries. Now here Iceland is first, Denmark second, and Ireland is also there. Ireland is over here third. Moving ahead, Corruption Perception Index. Now again the word perception has come, so this would be based on the survey. These people would come and ask you, how is your perception with respect to corruption? Do you think corruption is there in India? Do you think this is there? Do you think it is there? So there would be a questionnaire which you have to answer. Based on that, the country would be ranked. Rank countries by their perceived levels of public sector corruption. Public sector corruption, it does not take into account, for private. It does not account for private sector. The UPSC can very easily change it. It takes into, it ranks countries by their perceived levels of public and private sector corruption, which would be wrong because it takes into account only the public sector. India is 93rd out of 180. Denmark, Finland and New Zealand are the top 3 countries over here. I hope this is absolutely clear. Now 93rd out of 180 is still quite good. Okay, it's still quite good. We are in the bottom half. Of course, there is a lot to improve. There are almost 100 countries ahead of us. Okay, so these are your certain important indices and reports which is very important for your prelims, and you can expect 1 or more questions from this. Thank you.